Warning, this video contains spoilers of stories from Fate Stay Night and Honkai Star Rail.
この明かりは星の希望、地を照らす命の証。見るがいい。エクスカリバ
ー! You know, after hearing about the collab announcement, having Saber here wasn't unexpected at all, but you gotta admit, it was nice to see her noble phantasm again.
Hi.
Before I start, we gotta set one thing straight. Honkai Star Rail's story has been falling down continuously since Penacony, and I wouldn't say Penacony was the best either, more like an obvious roller coaster with its ups and downs being more prominent. Peak HSR story was during Bellbop. Straight up. And Kokolia's boss fight is the most banger of all the boss fights we've had at the climaxes of the stories. Mostly because Kokolia herself is bangable. I mean, Fantilia is quite a close contender here.
I'll go for the body.
But it wasn't as impactful as the wildfire drop.
We made a choice, go fight against your fate. They will come with the blade.
Anyway, I'm not gonna talk much about why Star Rail's story has declined as of late, because there are tons of videos out there already explaining the reasons behind it, and I do generally agree with most of them, with the most prominent criticism being the bloated writing, which leads to a yap fest, and it mainly started to show in Penacony. One infamous example is a bird, which led to quite a number of memes being born.
One day, after dinner, we and my younger sister and I
Thank you for that. Now, I do understand the complaint of long writing, especially in this kind of games, but I personally didn't get too annoyed / bored because I was already used to it since I like to read, and it's been a personal principle of mine to go through a story no matter how bad it gets, at least in visual novels. And visual novels are the medium that I firstly would like to share with you guys who are not familiar with it, because this is what Kinoko Nasu, the author of Fate Stay Night, used to tell his story, and how this fact might affect the Fate collab. To say it simply, visual novels are basically books. Digital books that usually have voice acting, but always sound effects, music, and visuals that are either animated or static. If you think that manga is like the middle ground between light novels and anime shows, you'll find out that there's another medium between them. A few examples I could give from gachas that have visual novel elements are Snowbreak, Azure Lane, and Nikkei. Now, if you get rid of the gacha end game part, then you have a visual novel. This fact is a double-edged sword though, because while your story is not limited by animation budgets and still get the company of audio to enhance your immersion, the only content is your story. It's not like a game where if you dislike or hate the story, you can still play the game. You can still use your WSD or arrow keys to move around and cast skills or whatever. Whereas in visual novels, the only buttons you'll be pressing is the enter button or the left mouse click, depending on your preference. That's the core aspect of it. You're there just to read a story. And here's the part where it should concern you, because for the Fate collab, it'll highly likely be another yap fest due to Nasu's style of writing for the Fate Stay Night series. However, his kind of yapping actually bears fruit, honestly speaking. What Honkai Star Rail's and Fate Stay Night stories have in common is that they're lore heavy, but how Nasu wrote his lore into the plot is with careful timing and balanced execution. The balance with comedy, romance, action, and mystery. The dialogue matters and provides tension. The writing makes you give a damn about the characters and witness their growth. You actually want to continue reading more and feel satisfied after finishing it. And that's not what you really get after reading Star Rail's current story. In Fate, anything major that affects the side characters would normally leave an impact on the protagonist as a contribution to his character development, whether it's for the short term or in the long run. There, people die when they're killed, and they stay dead. If I recall correctly, like in at least 2 routes of the 3, the characters that leave quite an impression on you die. Which leaves even more of an emotional effect. Everyone except Rin will at least die one time. In Star Rail, what happened in Panakoni? Firefly, don't worry, she's fine. Robin and Sunday, nah, just teleported. Aventurine, oh, Argentines just found him. Before that, yeah, Tingyun with her crispy neck twist, but Ranmei exists. So, the last impactful death was Cocolia, and that was since patch 1.0. Speaking of which, read the f***ing room March 7th.
Wow. That was a tough trailblazing expedition. We made it!
You know, when you do these dramatic moments that kill off a character only to bring them back soon afterwards, it actually kills off the tension. It takes away the threat and seriousness of the situation, which will have an influence over the reader's predictions for future stories. Like now, when you get to a point where someone dies, you'll highly likely just think, they're gonna come back again, so no worries. Or, why should I care? They're gonna come back anyway. That being said, Trian's death in patch 3.1 was emotional enough for me and therefore made me quite engaged to the story there. Anaxa, not as much. Speaking of which, I have a feeling that either Ranmei or Castoris will bring them both back from the dead. Hey, prove me wrong, Hoyo. I dare you if you can. Please, prove me wrong. I would love it if you do. So, yeah, this is one massive flaw among several others I have with Star Rail story. And it's not like that with Fate Stay Night. Look, I'm not saying that Nasu will definitely push out a better story here, but it's actually quite a high possibility for it to happen. When Star Rail's story gets this slow, possibly reaching rock bottom, the only direction is up. Regardless, you really shouldn't glaze a creator too much and expect him or her to push out good content all the time. For example, look at Xiaoji. Everyone and their moms were basically saying he was goated because of his
Never let you go is why I did them all for a chance at least to live it your way.
And I don't deny that it was a very emotional scene, but look at HSR now since he took over. This could happen to Nasu too. I mean, it's not like I don't hope for the best, but it hurts way less when you prepare for the worst. Then again, this Fate collab might not even be completely from him because, as you can see, he's just the story supervisor, not head writer, so I don't think he'll have complete control over this project. Now that I think about it, Xiaoji might not be the only person that contributes to the story, so I think it's a bit unfair to pin everything on him. Whatever the case, I do have my wishful thinkings of a better story, but I would still keep my expectations to a bare minimum. The reason is due to Hoyo itself and how they executed the storytelling. My belief as to why they took this approach is because they want to shove down into your mouth the incentive to pull for the characters. Everyone should know that the writing is stretched way too long unnecessarily. These stories in every recent patch will include a considerable amount of screen time of the characters in that patch. And the reason is very simple. They want to sell you the characters more through their writing. This is usually the problem with stories in gacha games. It's normal to feel attached to a character and therefore want to pull said character. The devs know this, so forcing extra screen time in the main plot just makes it easier to encourage you to spend your non-existent jades. What if someone doesn't want to care about these banner characters? Well, too bad. He or she will have to undergo several hours of their lives pretending to give a shit. What happened to the companion quest, Soyo? When was the last one? Yun Lee's? And oh my freaking god, how long has that been since? They could really reduce the length of these stories if they just brought back the companion quests. This has been a trend ever since Aventurine's inclusion into the main story. His background, which I myself believe that it should have been a separate thing instead. Don't get me wrong, I did enjoy his backstory. I just didn't think it was essential to the main plot. And this applies the same for several others. It's as if these banner characters have taken over the protagonist's role of being the main character. Besides that, the mid-execution of the dialogue scenes. The lack of facial expressions and animated poses is a killjoy. Most of the time, most characters have stoic expressions and they are all limited to only a few poses during dialogue. You have the hand to the heart, the crossing arms, the thinking pose, the right hand out. You guys, I'm saying this straight up. In visual novels, the sprites of the characters with their limited number of poses, which are literally just PNGs, are more alive than the characters in a HSR. How is that even possible? How can a digital book have better presentation than a game? And this is coming from a multi-billion-dollar company, for crying out loud. You know, all these problems, if they're not fixed, you can bet your ass that the Fate Collab story will be mid at best too. It doesn't matter even if Nasu manages to adjust his writing to perfectly fit into a gacha game. Without the proper execution, the story will get butchered. A recent example is the beginning after the end anime adaptation. Enough said. And this goes for pretty much anything when it comes to stories. Even if you have one to tell, if you don't know how to tell it, it won't stick as hard, or at all. Therefore, despite knowing that Star Rail could never listen to suggestions for improving the game, at least from the global side, I will still give off a few recommendations. Firstly, cut down the writing here. You don't need to shove down lots of lore down the reader's brain. It'll just overload it. I don't need to know everything about Amphorius quickly. I just want to experience the now. Put in parts that are relevant to the current events, please. Second, bring back the companion missions. Like, separate the scenes that involves the backstory of the characters or something to another optional point. Pacing matters a lot in order to not let your readers get bored. Not everyone has the time to go through ridiculously long writing in this casual game, for f***'s sake. And that brings me to my last point. A goddamn skip button. What the hell? Some players don't care about the story and they just want to get it done with in order to claim those bits and pieces of rewards. I don't understand. You have it in Zenless Zone Zero, but not here? It's the same company. What the f***? It doesn't matter if they have different devs. Just stroll down to the other floor and look at which aspects they're doing better and implement that. It's not that hard. As for the players that do want to be up to date with the story but unfortunately don't have as much time, it's best to have a summary of the scene if you do decide to skip that particular moment. Snowbreak has this example. And ironically, I like and want to read the stories from Snowbreak and Zenless Zone Zero, which have the skip feature. But I get bored and annoyed from the writing of the current Star Rail that doesn't. That's saying something. And yeah, skip button, Hoyo. Most important, please do think about the players that don't have as much time. Isn't that what you want, Hoyo? Like, to reach a broader audience? Then make the damn game flexible. If I wanted to read a really long story, I might as well go pick up a book or a visual novel. And guys, visual novels have a skip feature. What? In a medium where the main content is about the story and it lets you skip it. And this includes Fate Stay Night, you know. So, what's Star Rail's excuse? Ah, my god. Before I end, I do want to give an advice to gacha players in general. It's okay to get hyped up, but not too hyped. I would recommend for you to keep your expectations to a bare minimum, medium at best. If you don't expect a lot, you won't get as disappointed.
I loved him until I figured out it hurts a lot less to just not care. You don't expect him to turn up to your football match? No disappointments. You don't expect to call on your birthday? Don't expect to see him for months? No disappointments. I've given him enough hugs. He's given me enough disappointments. Okay.
It's not wrong to wish or hope for the best, but don't expect it. Two different things there. And the same goes for the Fate collab. High expectations is the cause that led to the uproar during Wuthering Waves anniversary. We all know MiHoYo is a greedy and predatory gacha company, and people expect Kuro to be much different? Nah, just ever so slightly. It doesn't matter. They're all gacha developers in the end, and the only result they care about is profits. It's like politics. So pick the lesser evil, since there's only evil to be found in this rabbit hole of an industry. Oh, on a side note, if you guys do want to experience stories with actually good storytelling in general, pick up a visual novel. Totally not biased because I totally don't make visual novel reviews in my main channel. If you do, I wouldn't recommend Fate Stay Night to pop your cherry though, precisely because it's a masterpiece of a story. and that would make you set too high of a standard for the ones you want to read in the future. There is a visual novel with gacha elements called Heaven Burns Red though, and I highly recommend for you guys to check that out if you want to start getting into the VN industry. Plus, the protagonist here is one of the best, if not the best, main characters out of all the gacha stories I'm familiar with.
テヘペリンかなんだそれ
Anyway, that's all from me. Hope you guys can like and subscribe. Later, addicts. By the way, the reason why Star Rail's story is crap at the moment is due to the lack of Kafka in the plot. That is objectively true and you guys can never argue against it. Bye!
ぽい